Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good day. My name is Muhammad Ishraf Hasri from RAS 2546B. Today I am going to present to you my final year project. The title for my project is Habitat Suitability Breeding Structure of Squid. So, without further ado, let us start, shall we? In this presentation, I have divided it into 5 parts. Part 1 is the introduction, which consists of background of study, problem statement, objective, significance of study, limitation, and research question. Part 2 is the explanation of breeding structure, and it is conceived of breeding structure and breeding ground, a perfect breeding ground, relationship between climate change and seabed, climate change impact on squid population. Next is part 3, which is the environmental characteristic. This part explains about the seabed characteristic, rugosity of the seabed, characterization of the seabed using instrument. The fourth part is about breeding structure assessment method, which elaborate about the geophysical survey on the seabed by using the side scan sonar to construct the floor images, the seabed imaging using echo sounder. The last part is the conclusion and recommendation. Now we move on to the explanation for each part. So, background of the study for this project is about breeding structure of squid. The meaning of breeding structure: specific animals have specific preference that will be needed for their breeding system. Breeding structure also means that the structure of the place, for example, the outlook of the preferred places, which also can be easily understand as the look of the place that can be simply judged by our own eyes. The current issue related to this project is to analyze the preferred breeding structure of squid and to know the structure figure of the breeding place of the squid. The problem statement for this project is the unknown type of squid breeding structure. The objective or the purpose for my research is to identify the type of breeding structure of several species of squid in the northern areas of Peninsular Malaysia. This obtain the knowledge on preferred seabed characteristic of the squid. To discuss the parameter used to determine the breeding structure, the research is going to analyze the preferred breeding structure of squid, including the type of rugosity of the place. Next is the significance of the study, which needed as it will benefit many sites. For squid breeding structure, the motive of doing the study is to know and learn about the structure of the breeding spot or place of the squid. Benefits from the study can increase the food resources for local people and fishermen, and this research should aid in preservation and conservation of the squid and its breeding structure. The limitation of the study is the study for the squid breeding structure is at early stages and not many data cannot be extracted for the comparison. The last part for part 1 is research question. First question: what is the characteristic of the seabed preferred by the squid? Second, what are the approach toward the study, including ways to determine the parameters? Third, what type of rugosity structure that are preferred by the squids? And the last one is, what are the harmful material toward the water body which affected sea creatures breeding? Now we move on to the part 2, which is breeding structure. Breeding structure and breeding ground. Breeding structure is a part of the breeding system which needed as the guidance to estimate what kind of animal produced there. Breeding ground is a place or set of circumstances which encourages the development of certain species or habitat in the particular areas, whereas also known as breeding places for animals, including human. A perfect breeding ground. The location of breeding ground plays a major role in estimating the population of aquatic creatures, which living there as a breeding ground must have the suitable environment, and the physical properties of the structure is major factor when locating a good breeding ground. It includes the type of the ocean soil, muddy seafloor, and sometimes a place full with coral reef. Next is relationship between climate change and seabed. CSIRO scientists, which is an organization of scientists around the world, have produced the first preliminary prediction of the potential impact of climate change on the Australian seabed. The greatest estimated end of century CO2 levels have no impact on the aerobic performance and recovery of two species of tropical squid. Beach and cliff erosion will increase in southern locations as a result of wind-driven wave and storm occurrence, and marine life in the northern waters will be impacted by changes in salinity and temperatures. Climate change impact of squid population. Squid might even survive the harshness of climate change in the sea, even under the ocean acidification as the worst case. With more carbon dioxide in the water, which make it more acidic, it was anticipated that they would perform poorly. The squid blood are highly sensitive toward ocean acidic water, and it is expected to affect negatively in their aerobic performance. So next is about environmental characteristic. The first characteristic is seabed characteristic. The seabed characteristic help in determine a good structure of squid that need to breed. Seabed, which also known as seafloor, is the bottom of the sea. The unit of the seafloor animals that there is an impressive undersea ecosystem composed of temperature of water, brightness of entering water, the depth of the seabed, and the gradient of organisms that vibrate according to the force of the wave, creating wide variety of ecosystem. Next is rugosity of the seabed. Rugosity is a type of measurement of a small-scale variation of amplitude in the height of a surface. Rugosity calculations are frequently used in marine science to characterize habitat on the bottom, as well as in material science to describe surfaces. The last characteristic is characterization of seabed using instrument. After analyzing and knowing the characteristic of the seabed or seafloor, there are several ways in determining and differentiate the sediment accumulated at the seabed. On the basis of geophysical information such as multi-beam bathymetry, backscatter and side-scan sonar, a machine learning technique to map the seabed substrate is currently being developed, and this finding from a case study in Table Bay, South Africa Southwest, demonstrate a method of physical seafloor classification that uses a variety of statistical software and technique. The fourth part is about breeding structure assessment. First is geophysical survey on the seabed. Diverse geophysical survey methods are used by marine geophysicists to gather data on the physical environment of the seafloor. As this activity is crucial to the ongoing study in both geology and archaeology, they can collaborate with and support this discipline. In order to satisfy this demand, geophysical researchers, contractors, and equipment producers have benefited from the development in digital technology, increases in computer power, and the accessibility of high-power computing provided by falling prices. The fundamental of geophysical remote sensing will be reviewed, along with more recent advancement, with an eye toward the advantage they offer archaeology community. Next is using the side-scan sonar to construct seafloor images. The side-scan sonar or side-looking sonar uses an array of transducers to transmit energy to the instrument side. By the sequentially capturing energy bursts from each side of the sensors along the line track, a continuous image of ocean floor can be created. In the contrast of the echo sounder, the side-scan sonar transmission beam is wide in the transverse direction and narrow for an AFT. As a result, a sizable portion of the ocean floor is ensonified and which broadcast bursts of ping. The last one for this part is seabed imaging using echo sounder. The bathymetry and a picture or photograph type view of the seafloor are two major types of images of seabed that are requested in most surveys. The precise placement of the instrument on a fixed mount is known, but boat noise will have more negative impact on them. Additional information about the seafloor has been gathered by using geophysical sensors like magnetometers and electromagnetic devices. The last part is conclusion and recommendation. The most prominent way to determine the preferred breeding structure of the squid is by using the marine instrument, which help to allocate the seabed characteristic and the rugosity of the seabed. It includes the usage of GIS map to preferred place, side scan sonar which help the researcher to identify the suitable place by creating any images of the seafloor, whereas the usage of echo sounder is essential to enhance the survey of the seabed. As for recommendation, the needs to recognize the targeted place and areas need to be worked on as a researcher should comprehend several potential places for the squid to breed and it increase population steadily. Then, the type and criteria of the breeding structure will needed to be patterned and mapped, as it will help the next researchers to continue the studies on these research. This is because in the future the structure might change and the squid will lose its preferred habitat to breed and decrease the population of the squid at there. This will lead to shortage of squid for human consumption and it will drastically decrease the squid prices, increases the squid prices and then demand will go high enough. That's all for me. Thank you.